Hello everyone!
So, I'd ask you to join me on this channel so that we can figure out if we're staying together. We're going to go through and rank, now that we've seen Endgame, and we won't spoil it. We will not spoil this movie. We are going to go through and rank all of our Marvel movies in the first 22 movies.
The MCU movies.
Yes, the MCU movies exclusively.
Yeah.
So, I think we should work our way up from the bottom.
I agree.
Okay. I'm going to let you go first.
Why are you letting me go first? Okay, well, I want to make it very clear that none of these are like...
Oh, excuses already.
None of these are movies I actually like dislike. You know what I mean? I like all of these movies. It's just a matter of which ones do I love the most.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of thought of it in terms of which ones do I want to rewatch the most and which ones do I remember the best.
Okay.
So that's kind of how I was thinking. And I feel like I ended up basically having like 3 chunks within this list, and each 3 I feel like are almost ties like within that group. I have like my lower tier, my middle tier, my top tier, and they're all almost tied within it. So
I actually had a very similar process. I basically broke them out into 3 different categories. It was like top, middle, bottom, and then I sorted those and then stuck it all together.
I feel very guilty about my first one. I feel really bad. Okay, my lowest ranked one is Ant-Man.
Okay.
Which I feel terrible about because I've literally been in love with Paul Rudd since I was 16, and I had really high hopes for this. And
Right.
Evangeline Lilly with Lost is, I feel like she's just done things.
Was she even in the first one?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because I was really excited because she was in a Marvel movie, and I'm like, you're part of the MCU. And then I was like, oh, I don't like your movie, and I feel terrible. And like, it's not a bad movie, it just doesn't feel like an MCU movie to me. And I had my hopes way, way too high for it.
I'm going to hold off my comments on Ant-Man more until we get to it, and it will not be long. So. I actually put The Incredible Hulk as the lowest one because, okay, first of all, I grew up on the other Hulk movies, the Ang Lee movies, and I'm like, oh, those were passable? They were kind of terrible, to be honest, but like, I was attached to them. And this, I was just like, this is terrible. Like, even if you like accept that it's written for children, it's still just not a good movie. And I feel like the Hulk is kind of hard because it has a bit of the Superman problem without his high morals.
Yeah.
It's basically just like, this thing is invincible and all-powerful, and what do you even do?
It's interesting. I never thought of him as a Superman thing. Because he has just like his like one skill set, I feel like.
True.
He could best him in other ways.
Yeah, absolutely. But like, you know what I'm saying. It's just overpowered. It's that problem. So, yeah, so that's the lowest one.
Which is amusing considering the shirt you're wearing, I'm just gonna say.
Excuse you. Captain Marvel is overpowered, but incredible.
And The Incredible Hulk literally has incredible in the name.
The movie, however, was not so incredible. It was quite terrible, to be honest.
Alright.
Like, I haven't rewatched it. Okay, that's not true. I rewatched it once since I saw it in the theater, and I was like, And at the time that this came out, like, we didn't really know that MCU was going to be a thing. Like, it wasn't really, like, they weren't making a lot of these movies. It was, like, right after Iron Man. And I was like, okay, alright. And, like, I just couldn't. No.
See, my next lowest is The Incredible Hulk.
Okay, see, we just flipped them.
I remembered when I went to go see it in the movies with my mom, I remember enjoying it while watching it. And being like, this isn't great, but it's not terrible. That wasn't that bad, and I was okay with it. Whereas with Ant-Man, I was like actively disappointed the whole time watching it because my hopes were up here. But Incredible Hulk, I went in just being like, this will be fun. It ended up being kind of what I expected, so that was okay.
I could see that.
So that's where I was at, because like I was so used to superhero movies not being great, honestly, that I'm like, this isn't that bad. It's, you know.
That's very true. We had some really bad movies at that time, and it was really just Spider-Man that was good.
But by the time Ant-Man came around, my expectations were like way up here.
Right,
so.
that's a very good point, because that was like post-Guardians even.
Yeah.
So I put Ant-Man next. So we found our bottom 2.
They're very similar.
My problems with Ant-Man really come to the point of like, they keep trying to make this like scientifically valid, and I'm like, okay, but then you need to be consistent within your own universe. Like, the powers, I feel like, just keep changing as needed, and it's like, well, under which circumstances does he still have the same mass whenever he needs it to? And it's like, I don't really like heroes without rules, you know, because it just doesn't work, because I'm like, I don't know what the limits are, and it's not in that fun kind of way of like, I don't know how far this can go, or like figuring out with the character. Whereas this, it's like, okay, so you just ignored half of your rules half of the time. Like, it's, and like, I think the actor's name is Michael Pena.
No, he's
the one
great.
Who does the story.
Yeah.
Like, that is fantastic for me, and that is why it ranked above The Incredible Hulk.
Well, that's also what I mean that I don't like dislike any of the movies. There's definitely something to like in all of them.
Yeah, no, like we still want to watch all of these again. I know you're bent on this. Like, you wanted to do it before Endgame. And I was like, there are 2 weeks before Endgame, and we do not have time.
No.
Yeah, you probably could.
I'm distraught. I didn't need sleep.
What did you do instead of sleeping? Watched all the MCU movies.
I
Also,
don't know
my
what else
dreams.
there is to
While
do.
I dream while I'm conscious now, and apparently think I have superpowers.
That's just normal for me. It's fine.
All right, you're next.
My next least favorite one is Ant-Man and the Wasp.
Oh my gosh.
Because, well, I feel like part of what I didn't like about Ant-Man is I feel like they started like 4 different themes and never really finished any of them. They never really chose their theme.
Yeah.
And I feel like Ant-Man and the Wasp just like
Yeah.
didn't have one at all. It felt like.
Yeah.
I felt like it was just plot service. But Ant-Man and the Wasp, I feel like I said, there really wasn't a theme or a strong one, that one that stuck with me. I did like the Wasp fight scenes, and the reason I rank it higher is because it does tie in so much with Endgame that I at least like that it feels connected to the others. Whereas the first movie just felt like a random heist movie just thrown in that like referenced Marvel.
Yeah, I can see that.
This one
sort of like tangential to the universe.
Yeah, this one I'm like, oh, well, I know where it's going. I can see how this stuff is impacting each other. Like, I could figure it out with the first one, but it felt like I had to do that work. It wasn't presented as really part of the universe, so.
You are going to judge me so hard on this,
Right.
especially because of my love of Tony Stark.
No!
I put Iron Man 3 next.
Okay, I thought you were just gonna put like Iron Man.
Oh,
So I
God,
got that
no.
scared.
God, no,
It didn't even
no.
occur to me.
No, I
Jeez.
think our tiers are going to agree with each other. It's just placement within those tiers. But, okay, so Iron Man 3, I felt like it was like not really hitting any points, same way that we have a problem with Ant-Man, you know, and the Wasp, where I'm like, what are the themes? What is the point you are trying to make here? And I feel like Iron Man 3 did a better job of that than Ant-Man did, but I also was like, I don't really care because there's not much happening. Like, the MCU was already in full swing by this point. We had 2 Avengers movies, I think, and I'm like, what are they even focusing on this character for? Because, like, outside of that scope, this character really doesn't have much development left to do. And I couldn't get behind it. I wasn't very interested. I didn't really love the extremist thing. Because, they just threw away at the end of that movie, basically. Like, the next time we see Tony, he's done the operation to have his, like, shrapnel taken out. And I'm like, that's, like, his whole thing.
Yeah.
It kind of, like, undid a lot of the things that I thought were important for the character, while increasing things that definitely needed to happen, like his PTSD and all of that sort of stuff. But, like, it just...
Yeah.
I was more disappointed with it than I was, yeah, so that was that.
Yeah. My next, and this is the last one in my
Bottom tier. Oh, my bottom tier keeps going.
And I feel really bad about this because I know a lot of people feel very opposite, but mine's Guardians of the Galaxies 2.
Okay.
And I love the Guardians of the Galaxy. I think they're fun. And I think I just had too much built up with this. I had a lot of my friends were like, oh my god, this has changed my superhero movies are done. This is something that I've never seen a superhero movie do. It's a huge deal. So I was really braced for, oh my god. And I think if I had gone in without that much buildup, I would have been really moved by it.
Yeah.
But as it was, I kind of felt like I saw it was coming very early on, and I was really proud of them for doing that. Like, I feel like it's very rare that you're like, no, the parent's a bad person, you need to move on with this parent and have a family of choice. I love that message. I just felt like the way it was done, like, almost read to me as a little corny, and I think that was just because my standards were, again, up too high. I just expected it to be done a little bit differently.
And I think that's sort of the Chris Pratt problem, because, like, everything he ends up doing ends up reading as corny, because they want to focus so much on that piece of his acting range.
That funny aspect.
Yeah, and I'm like, that's fine, but I also think that there's so much more to this actor that I don't think we're using.
Yeah.
You know? It could have been much more
nuanced. Subtle
nuanced.
to me. It felt very much like super on the nose. The message felt very, very on the nose.
There was basically no nuance to it, which fits with the character, but it's also just not very interesting to watch.
It's also not really how I see like Marvel doing their plots a lot. I feel like there is a little more subtlety sometimes, and this just felt very.
This needed a deft hand, and instead we got a sledgehammer.
Yeah. I said, I think I probably would have been more moved by it had I not been told how moving it was going into it. I was expecting to like be sobbing, and instead it was like, oh.
Plus, the other thing that I think did not work in this thing's favor is I think this was right before the second Avengers movie, and I'm like, okay, well, we know this can't be bad enough that the Avengers have to get involved, so there's limits on this plot, so we know pretty much that it's not going to be a problem.
I feel like that a lot with superhero movies, especially being a little more familiar with the comic universe. Like, I usually I know where they're going, usually.
Like, if you people think I'm nerdy, this one.
I have a problem.
This one.
I'm cool, it's fine.
Oh, yeah. Definitely cool. It's just, like, not as cool as me.
I don't know. I feel like it lost a little bit of the charm, and I feel bad because I know specifically one of my friends. This movie is so important to, and I am sorry, and I'm not insulting the movie, and it's very, very good, and I love the message, but it's just it didn't hit me as strongly. It tried to the message really like.
It tried to deal with a heavy-handed subject with heavy hands, and like keep the whimsy of the first movie. Like, it needed a tone shift, and it just didn't do that because they wanted to keep the tone from the first movie, which was great for that first movie and worked really well as an introduction to it, but didn't work so well for this plot.
And again, it pains me to rank anything low with Zoe Saldana on it, because I've also been in love with her since I was 16.
Well, moving on in my list. Again, I love Tony Stark. Iron Man 2. If for no other reason than the Mandarin.
I guess, you know what, and like, I'm looking at my list now, and I guess I'm not that far off you.
We're really not that far off.
I'm still very upset that you have like 2 Iron Man movies already. I don't know who you are.
I know. I love, like, literally, I was planning to name one of my children Tony Stark Wilson. Boy, girl, Tony, Tony. It was gonna happen. Like, I love Tony Stark, that character, Iron Man, the whole thing. I love that character so much. But these movies were just not as exciting to me as the other movies. And like, the thing with the Mandarin and was that the second one or was that the third one? Oh, that was the third one.
Third one's Mandarin.
Right. Second one was Whiplash, which was also not a particularly compelling villain to me because like, Tony never actually feels that threatened by him. Yeah. Like, it's basically just him showing off that he can create elements, which don't even get me started on that science. And like, all of that, it was just ridiculous. It was just watching Tony Stark be awesome, which is awesome, except he wasn't feeling awesome because he was dying the whole time, you know what I mean? I don't know, it just didn't really do much for the character for me, and like, most of the time I sat there bored, honestly. I know, and that's saying something. I love that character.
I know. I'm just a little like, what?
I know. I'm just being honest. Like,
no, it's fine.
That's how I feel about it.
I'm just holding on to Harry Potter and rethinking who you are. Everything's okay.
That's why I said this video is going to determine if we stay together.
Oh, like I said, mine's not that far off because my next tier, my mediocre tier, and like mediocre is not the right word for it. My second tier, they're pretty much the movies that like I really love some element of, but something about it keeps me from being like, oh my god, this movie, I need to watch it over and over and over again. That's pretty much all this is. And my bottom one of that tier is Iron Man 2. And my reason for that is just because it's the one that I always have to remind myself what happened in. I'm always like, wait, what was that one about? And so it doesn't stick out to me as much as the others, so that's my reason. I still loved the movie, but it's the one that for some reason just hasn't stuck in my brain plot-wise as much. I'm always like,
remember the part where a bunch of like droids attack the city?
It just doesn't like.
You see what I mean? Like, it's like, oh right, that happened, and
like, I know a lot of people complain about Marvel movies being forgettable, and I don't always think that way, but a few of them I do, and this is one of the ones I do I see it, and I feel like I'm really invested while I'm watching it, and then like a month later, I'm like, wait, I can't remember everything that happened in this.
So then for me, it's Ant-Man and the Wasp.
This is still your bottom tier?
This is still my bottom tier.
Yeah.
Ant-Man and the Wasp, for all the reasons you said, I'm just like, I don't care. And like, everything goes way too perfect. Like, I don't feel like there was actually any real conflict in there.
Yeah.
You know, like everything just is a matter of execution. It's just plot for plot's sake. There's no like point to these characters. They don't develop, they don't change, they don't grow. Like, oh no, his mom. And I'm like, wow. Or what was his girlfriend? I don't care. I don't care. That's the point. I don't care. And I love Paul Rudd. He's awesome. He's great at that character. It's just there's no character. You know what I mean?
really feel like they kind of sold him a little short in it.
They really, really did. I'm like, they took one of the few people with like serious, major previous acting experience, brought them in a later phase of it, and then just didn't use them. And I don't get it.
I just wish they let him be a little funnier as opposed to just like dumb funny. Like I feel like he's just supposed to be dumb most of the time, which does work, and I like it when it's spoilers, but like when he's involved in the Avengers, it's really great balance there, but it's not enough for like the whole movie.
No, exactly. He's the Patrick Star, and like there's a reason it's not Patrick.
Yeah.
You know, it's SpongeBob, and like, you know.
Yeah. And my next, and I feel bad saying this because half the movie I'm obsessed with, is Thor.
Okay.
Because I remember when I first saw the movie, I was just really thrown because I feel like it's so uneven. I feel like all the parts on Asgard are super Flash Gordon without acknowledging that they're Flash Gordon. Like they don't acknowledge just how campy and cheesy it is. It's not done tongue-in-cheek enough.
No, exactly. Like it takes itself way too seriously in a comedy. Like,
well, not even that. It's just like it's really hard to take someone that seriously in like those costumes and that setting where we're not attached to those characters.
Yeah,
yet.
and like that was right at the
lighting.
It was like right after Iron Man 2, and it was like very early in the MCU, and it was like they hadn't quite figured out how to do a movie with multiple things, you know? Like they hadn't figured out how to be serious and heavy-handed and funny and down to earth and all those kinds of things. And like the way that they did that was by setting. So they like put this god on Earth, but it's not funny to us really because like we didn't get.
I'm completely going to disagree with you. I'm not done with my point yet.
Oh, well, go ahead.
Because that's my thing. Like in Asgard, I felt like Asgard was just, it wasn't acknowledging that it was really campy or it needed to be a little bit campy.
Right.
And like Tom Hiddleston is obviously great. Like everyone in it's great. But yeah, I'm obsessed with Loki, as you know. But however, everything that happened on Earth, I love. I feel like I'm like one of 3 people in the world that likes Jane. I really do. I loved Darcy. And I just thought Thor on Earth was hysterical. I could have watched like anything with him on Earth for like 30 hours. I could not get enough. Like he's so funny. Like Chris Hemsworth is amazing. And that, all that we talk about for like months after was like, oh my god, this guy is so funny.
Right?
And I loved it. So I loved half the movie. And then the other half of the movie I don't love, but it also set up probably like my top 3 characters in at least the MCU.
He's hysterical, and I love that as well for the same reasons. But I also just kind of hated the entire time he was on Earth because I'm like, what made this character interesting was that, and like seeing it removed is great, but like he doesn't change at all, pretty much. Like I get that at the end he does the thing, but like. I just, I don't know. I don't feel like we got enough character development, actually.
I don't know. I feel like we got growth, and honestly, I don't really mind watching a character I like that much in their setting. And I do feel like there was growth, and there was growth around him. Like, it was like humanity having to figure out what to do with this, too. I really liked that. I don't know. I mean, so I loved half of it, but I can't put it any higher because afterwards I was like, I don't get why everyone loved this movie so much. Half of it is terrible. And because I remember all the critics were freaking out, losing their minds over it. Like, this movie's extraordinary, it's changing superhero movies, like, Marvel's figured it out. And I was just like, it's kind of silly. And it doesn't realize it's silly. And I feel like later they definitely had Thor realize it was silly, and that worked, but...
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Yeah.
We'll come back to that. So the next one for me was Guardians of the Galaxy 2.
Still bottom tier.
Still bottom tier. For all the reasons that we talked about before. Like, I felt like the dad subplot, you know, the dad plot, that's the whole movie, was just, I just didn't care. Like, I was like, okay, fine, we got some explanation here. I guess he's part God. I don't know what that means in this universe. Like, whatever. And it sucks because, like, they never even pick back up on that thread. It's just thrown away. It's almost like the MCU rejected its own movie, you know? I'm like, this doesn't change anything. Nothing changed.
I don't know if we've gotten enough of that yet, you know?
It's possible
kinda
that we'll
my
still
hoping.
see that. He's still got some more movies in
Yeah.
his contract. But I'm just like, the whole time I was watching the movie, I was looking for anachronisms, honestly.
Yeah.
Because, like, he's left Earth at
That's what
some
you
point.
do.
That is what I do. But, like, that got distracting. But, yeah, I don't know. It's good because, like, I think we definitely needed... The Guardians of the Galaxy, the purpose they serve in the MCU is to bring us into space. To bring us into that larger world. And they do that job. The rest of it, no. It's just not interesting to me. I don't know. I just couldn't get behind it. I did love a lot of the Nebula Gamora stuff, but it was just so basic because Karen Gillian came back. And, you know, it's just like...
I normally agree with that, but I don't know what to say without talking about Endgame.
All things Endgame will be discussed at the end.
Okay. Okay, so my next one, and I feel like everyone's going to hate me for having them in this order, but it's Thor: The Dark World.
Okay.
And I'm going to say I prefer it because I thought they did the balance better in this one. I felt like it started recognizing what it was and being more tongue-in-cheek. And I honestly love Loki so much in this movie that it probably should rank higher, honestly, just because of how much I love Loki in this movie. He's so great. He's everything I love about that character. And all he did was make me want a Marauders movie with him as Sirius Black so badly, which I literally cannot give higher praise to somebody the way that he played, like,
no, anytime you cast someone as Sirius Black, I know it's really
That's
serious.
literally the highest praise I could possibly give anyone, and Tom Hiddleston will never understand that, the level of
I think he
praise
will.
that is.
I think
I
he
don't
will.
know. I've never heard him talk about him.
Can we have David Tennant
how
in that?
much this means.
Can we have David Tennant in
He
that
could be
cast?
Lupin.
Yeah, I
See,
kind
if
of
we
like
could just
him
get
for
the
Lupin.
ages right, he'd be great as Lupin.
I like this.
He'd be a good Lupin, possibly a good James, possibly.
Possibly.
But I think Lupin, but like obviously Tom would have to be serious, so that's really what it is for me. I feel like they got their balance. I still got Chris being hysterical, and Tom was just like this scraggly, dirty, crazy version of himself. And
Yeah, well, it's
I
post-Avengers,
loved it.
which is just amazing.
I was just so into it. I was so here for it, and everyone hated it. And I'm like, I don't know what you all watch because I'm just gonna go back and watch Loki over and over again because that character is literally perfect.
For me,
So Chris Hemsworth needs to be in every comedy ever.
yeah, he's so
just
funny.
literally, I will watch anything he does. Like literally anything he's in, I'm like, okay.
So for me, the next one after Guardians of the Galaxy 2 was Guardians of the Galaxy. As you said, we
I'm
have that friend in
surprised.
common that's going to be very upset, but I don't think she watches my channel, so I don't know that I care.
I don't even think we're talking about the same friend, so I think we're just gonna have multiple friends mad.
Of course, starting all that drama in our friend group. Alright, well, anyway.
I'm really surprised.
Yeah, no, I just... I don't know what I was expecting, but I just didn't like what I got.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, it was fun, but I was like... By that time, I kind of wanted, like, things to be moving in that universe. And it just didn't... I don't know, I just don't think it has any rewatch value, and I think that's, like, my biggest complaint about it, because it's higher up on my list, obviously. And I'm like,
Is this still bottom tier?
this is still bottom tier.
God, who are
I know,
you?
I know, I swear I like Marvel. We're getting to the middle.
Probably like closetly just solely into DC movies and don't want to tell me.
I'm pretty sure this is where I drew the line for my bottom tier, though. I think this is
Okay.
it for the bottom.
My next one is Age of Ultron.
Okay.
Which, like, I don't hate by any means. I don't dislike nearly as much as most other people do. I liked it. I didn't think it was as memorable, again, as a lot of the other Marvel movies. It's one that I kind of would have to be like, okay, which one was this? What exactly happened? And it just wasn't as much fun as some of the other Avengers movies.
Well,
and
because
that's
they
what's
were-
so great about the Avengers is they're just really fun.
Well, I mean, any Avengers movie that has a bunch of board meetings is going to be boring.
It wasn't as, like, playful, and I think it was missing a little bit the camp again, but without being, like, so dramatic to warrant getting rid of the camp, you know? So I didn't dislike it, I just don't love it as much as the other Avenger movies.
Yeah, I mean, the character of Ultron was done in such a way that I was like, okay, cool. But it, like, that menacing that we got in the trailer was just so awesome. And we never really got so much of that.
I'm really into robots and AI, so I was really into Ultron, and I love Ultron, I love Vision, I love in-me thing in that vein, I'm very into it, so...
I mean, I'm a programmer. I agree.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, It was a little weird for me. It just, I don't know.
There were moments that get such great payoff.
Yeah, and they killed off Quicksilver without ever naming him.
Yeah, I know a lot of people that are so incredibly furious about
and
that.
but they also still have Quicksilver in the other universe where they have the X-Men living, and I'm like, I don't know. There was a lot of, I don't know, something was wrong with that movie, and I can't really place it.
Yeah.
I can place it. It's somewhere on this list, but I can't place what the problem is. All right, so for me, the next one was Thor. For a lot of the reasons we said, the tone was off. It was just so serious about really ridiculous things, and I couldn't tell half the time when they were making a joke versus not. And I feel like that's a problem.
Yeah.
You know, because I'm like, this is a pretty fantastic thing, you know? You kind of have to own the ridiculousness of it sometimes. And, they just didn't quite get there. So, like we said.
I feel like I'm, making yours so short because we talk it all out at first. I feel bad. Okay, my next one, and I feel like a lot of people are super going to disagree, but it's Winter Soldier.
Really?
Which, yeah, it's a great movie. It's amazing. Like I said, it's very hard. I mean, a lot of these middle tier ones are pretty much ties. They're all basically right under, oh my god, these are the best movies ever for me. They're just not quite there. And with me, it's pretty much just a matter of the fact that, compared to the other movies in this tier, I did love it. I think it's great. And the fighting's phenomenal, but I feel like the fighting was a lot of the focus, and fighting is my least favorite part of the superhero movie. It's just not what I'm most into.
No,
especially
it bores you in Lord of the Rings, and you love Lord of the Rings, you just literally can't follow battle sequences.
No, well, I have a hard time following, I just kind of space out, and especially realistic, very grounded fighting I don't get as into. More fantastic fighting I can get into. Super stylized, super fantastic, and this was very gritty, real-world soldier fighting, which was great, and it was beautifully done. It's just not the kind of thing I'm super into.
Yeah, because if you wanted, I get your point there.
Lot.
If you wanted to watch people fight, you'd just watch people fight. There's nothing superhero about that. I get your point there.
It's just not it was beautifully done and beautifully choreographed, and I love it, and it's great character growth in a lot of ways, and it's really interesting plot-wise. It's not something I'm like, oh, I really want to rewatch that, because it doesn't have the things I like to lose myself in.
Yeah, and the characters we came into the movie for don't really change very much from a result of the events of the movie. It's more about now Cap has to go save his friend, and I was the thing I wrote for mine was I don't care about Captain's friend. I just don't.
Oh my god, you don't care about Bucky?
I'm sorry, I don't care.
How do you not care about Bucky?
I barely even remembered that he existed from the first movie.
Oh my god, I can't even look at you right now. I don't even know how
I was
to
whatever, he was his friend, cool.
Oh my god, they're soulmates, how dare you? They're in love, alright? This is Finn and Poe, but epic.
Yeah, okay, but I'm okay, cool, good for you.
Now.
You do you. I don't care.
Wow. You don't care about Bucky.
I'm sorry, I don't care about Bucky.
You've literally never said anything that has wounded me more than this sentence ever.
Oh god. I'm not taking it back.
I'm so distraught.
This is the life we have to live.
Back. I know this is how you feel now. It's fine, just don't think I'm not calling.
Well, thank God no one else can back you up on this.
Oh my god.
Alright, so, was it me or you?
You.
Okay. So my next one was Avengers Age of Ultron. Again, something was wrong with that movie. I don't know what happened. It just didn't have the scale of the other Avengers movie, and I was like, why are we getting all of them even here? You know? Mm-hmm. In my opinion, Age of Ultron should have been an Iron Man movie, and then, Civil War should have been not Captain America's movie, but, I understand how that works. I don't know. I feel like that was more of an Avengers movie because all the Avengers were actually there, but they weren't on the same team. You know what I mean? It's sort of versus Engers. You know what I'm saying?
I do. You just do. My next one is Guardians of the Galaxy, which I do like it. I think I can rewatch it a lot more than you can.
Yeah.
I was trying so hard. I spent so long trying to figure this out, and I think the thing that keeps it from being like a oh my god favorite one to me is I feel like it thinks it's a little bit funnier than it is.
Yeah.
It feels very much like, oh my god, I'm so clever. And everyone's great in it. The cast is phenomenal. It is really funny. Again, I think I almost prefer them balanced out with other people as opposed to just themselves. It just feels a little bit one note, and it feels a little like proud of itself for being so funny, which I always find a little bit of a turn off.
Yeah, it's like that teenage kind of thing where like you're not as clever as you think you are.
Yeah, without being like a little tongue-in-cheek about it.
Yeah.
Like it's losing like it's not quite campy enough for the level of funny it is for me to like really love it, I think. I need just a little more camp or a little more like self-deprecation or something about the movie itself. Like, I mean, it's a tree and a raccoon, you know? I just need a little more camp, a little bit more.
Exactly, like you need to kind of own the fact that this is absurd.
I still really love it. It's just, I don't think I love it quite as much as the rest of Marvel.
The thing I could say about Guardians of the Galaxy is that I'm not exactly sure who the target audience was. Like, unlike, you know, Incredible Hulk, I'm like, okay, this is for children. This, I'm like, I have no clue who the target audience of this is. Like, I don't know if I'm supposed, and that's the way I feel about Thor too, because you know, not Thor 2, Thor as well, because I'm like, I don't know if you like knew what you were trying to do here. You know, it's that sort of thing again. But like you also said, they also felt like we are trying to be funny in this very direct, very obvious kind of way.
Yeah, and it's funny. It's just like it always is a little bit of a turn off for me. It's just enough for keeping it. It's enough to keep it being one of my absolute favorites. But oh my god, Bradley Cooper is so good at voice acting. I literally always forget it's Bradley Cooper.
And we need to talk about.
Wait, how do you do this?
And we need to talk about Kirk.
Yeah, no, Kirk.
I'm sorry, Sean Gunn. We're calling you Kirk forever, or Mitch. Those are your choices.
He is Kirk. Like he just is Kirk.
Those are your choices.
It makes me very happy.
Oh, for those not having a clue what the hell we're talking about Gilmore Girls. Like we do every night. It's fine.
Gilmore Girls. It's my life.
Like, I swear Netflix is going to be like, you are no longer allowed to watch this show.
I'm 100% sure it's going to ban me from Gilmore Girls, Gossip Girl, and Friends.
Yep.
100% it's going to ban me from those three shows. Yep.
Alright, so for me the next one was Thor the Dark World. You know, Loki. Loki is what saved this one for me.
Loki's perfect.
Yep, every scene with Loki in it is just gold. And I was like, yes, all the yes. And that was it. That's how I feel about it. Everything else could go away. Oh, and we had Christopher Eccleston in it, which was the Doctor, and like he totally wants to distance himself from that role. But like, it's the Doctor. This is gonna be good. No.
Yeah, he kind of raised my hopes too.
Right? I was like, oh, a good actor. All right, we're gonna be okay. Oh no. I don't know. It was just such a weird, abstract concept too, and Thor definitely has that problem. And by then we were definitely starting to look for like things like Infinity Stones. Like we didn't quite know where we were going with everything. But I was like, okay, well this is obviously a thing that we're now dealing with. You know, because by then we had like the Space Stone with that. We thought we had the Mind Stone with the Scepter, but we weren't totally sure on that one. We knew we had the Power Stone from Guardians of the Galaxy, and then we knew we had the Reality Stone here. And I was like, okay, so we're just knocking these out. Good. You know, this one's weird, so move on. And we were all starting to wonder, like, how the hell are they going to do the Soul Stone? And we'll get to that, but moving on.
Also, I think with Dark World is I really got uncomfortable with myself and was judging myself and trying not to think about it too hard, because not only was I in love with the villain, again, with Loki, but I was literally way more in love with him when he was like literally physically dirty and filthy and broke it. And I was just like, you, and I'm like, God, what is wrong with me?
There were many things.
So judging myself. I was analyzing myself, so.
Alright, you're up.
Alright, my next one is Iron Man 3. Which I know is higher than it has a right to be because of the plot and a lot of things, but Tony Stark having anxiety attacks, I cannot say how much that meant to me. I broke down sobbing in the theater. It meant so much seeing this incredibly strong, and not only strong, but absolutely arrogant and powerful man, be like superhero, be completely crippled and freaked out by panic attacks. I just lost it. I was like, oh my god, these are hard to deal with. I'm not a complete wuss for having a hard time with these. Like, Tony Stark has to deal with it too.
So your own personal importance ranks higher than actual movie quality. Got it.
Well,
I mean, I do the same thing later.
It meant a lot to me, and I lost it crying, and I will one day hug RDJ for his performance with it, but that is yet to happen. And my boyfriend at the time did not understand why I just burst out sobbing. It was kind of like, whatever, like, he has panic attacks. I'm like, you don't get it. Like, he's scared of having a panic attack. And I love the way they showed it, because they actually showed it as terrifying and scary, and he played it seriously, and he played it straight, even though it was like kind of funny still. It was like, what the hell's happening? But it was played as if it was really horrific as what was happening to him. And I hadn't really seen a panic attack taken seriously in a movie that wasn't about mental illness. And that, it just meant so much. I felt very seen, and it felt so important. And I think of that a lot. I would have a panic attack and be like, no, it's hard for Iron Man too. It's okay. So that's why that's that high up for me.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
For me, the next one was Winter Soldier. I don't care about Bucky. I just don't.
Oh God, I can't even with you. Don't care about Bucky.
No, but actually this movie had like some serious like plot problems for me, because I was
Yeah.
like, this plan makes no sense. Like, why are there all these other soldiers and stuff? What does this mean? What is the point? Who cares?
Yeah.
Like, I just couldn't get behind the premise of it. And like, especially since they kept it so dark and mysterious, and then like, we get to the end and we figure out all the things, and I'm like, this actually makes less sense now, you know?
Yeah.
Like, it's just not good. But it was nice to close out a lot of the stuff from, you know, Captain America. Like, some of the stuff that was set up in that movie got closed out in this movie, and I was like, okay, alright.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay, okay, technically, this is my last of my second tier. But if you could combine Infinity War and Endgame, which I really think you should, because they were intended to be parts 1 and 2 at first. If you combine those two, this would be in my top 10, and I really wish it was, because it really should be. Like, it's really basically that level for me. Is Civil War. I love Civil War, and part of what I love so much about it wasn't just the movie, even though it was fantastic. It was so great. It's one of the movies I feel like you actually didn't know for sure exactly how far they're going to go. I didn't know if they were going to go fully comics with it. I didn't know how far they were going to push it.
So you can spoil that, you know.
I was really scared. I felt so much peril watching it, which you don't often get with it. And
like, you were telling me before we went to the theater, you're like, I know how important Tony is to you. You need to understand what happens in the comics before you go watch this movie.
Yeah,
you need to know how bad this can get.
I was brace you that this could be really, really bad. I didn't even want to tell you what, but like afterwards, I was like, this is what I thought was going to happen. I was prepared to
oh
take
God, no!
I was so prepared, but like, I really, really, really love that movie, and part of what I love so much about it wasn't just the movie, it was just what happened in the fandom afterwards. I loved all the memes, I loved all the references and jokes, I loved the concept of Civil War. It was just fun. I feel like we all played with that movie for like a year after it came out.
Right? Like, that was a meme movie for some reason.
It was really, really fun, and I remember it felt very communal, it felt very connected, it felt like we all just were impressed by the same things, we all were relieved by the same things, we all thought the same things were funny. It was just so much fun to play with. It was really fun to play with the breakup because you knew they were going to get back together. So it's like, well, let's just have some fun with all this drama. And I really loved the whole fan experience, so that's why it's so high for me too.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. For me, the next movie, and you are going to murder me for this one, Black Panther.
Now that I think of it, you haven't actually said much about the movie to me. Wait, do you actually not like... Wait, are you still like not liking...
No, this is my middle tier. This is my middle tier.
Okay.
Right in the middle tier.
Okay.
But I love this movie. Like, we're starting to get into the territory of movies where I love them, but not as much as the next one up. Because for me, I don't think vibranium is the answer to all of life's problems. And I don't know, I felt like there was a lot of focus... I don't know, I feel like this particular power set is a little vague, and again, I don't really do well without the whole rules thing and everything, and I'm like, I don't know, I'm just like, I love him, his voice, though, his voice.
I'm very upset you just shrugged regarding Black Panther.
it's an important movie, and I really do think that we need more movies like it. I just want to see this character really go for it, you know? Like, and again, I feel like there's a bit of a power balance issue here because the technology is so ridiculous that at other times I'm like, why are we even chasing this person down the street? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Alright, this one is starting my top 10 tier. And at this point, they're basically all tied. I'm in love with all of these movies. So, what? What is that?
They're all tied. It's a way for you to be like, I don't actually have to commit to making
They
these
really
in a particular
basically
order.
are tied. I just tried very hard to find like very little, tiny things I could nitpick on. And so the first one with my top 10 is Iron Man. And I love it. And I remember everything about the first time seeing it in theaters. Like I remember my reaction to every single scene. I remember
the first 7 times I saw it in the theater.
I just remember being like, this is changing, and like Marvel's figured it out, and I'm so psyched. I was so excited about the whole MCU. Like the minute Iron Man came out, I just was like, they have to do everything, and I was just completely giddy. And the reason it's like the bottom of my favorites is because I do think Marvel eventually got better at doing it, but it doesn't mean that this isn't amazing. It's just after this, they just really, really learned like where their strengths were and really played to them even better. But it's hard not to start the best ones with that, because I feel like everything started with Tony. It's just he is the MCU basically. It is Robert Downey Jr. So that's really what it is. I just love him so much. I like screamed in the theater when he said he was Iron Man. I lost my mind.
Right? I'm gonna hold on talking about Iron Man until I get to it.
That's fine.
For me, the next one up is Doctor Strange. Okay, so it's a weird thing. You know, it's kind of a weird power set. It's like unclear like what the actual rules are. Again, I find that that's most of why I like push some of these to the bottom, because I'm like, I need to be able to understand this a little bit.
Yeah.
You know, and like I just felt that like the tone was a little weird, and like I loved what they did with his character though, with the whole like arrogant surgeon gets into a car wreck of his own fault and like, you know, can't use his hands anymore and like goes on this quest and all that, and like I think it was a really compelling story. I don't know, it's low high, you know?
No. Alright, my next one is Captain Marvel. And I love Captain Marvel, and I think it's almost a perfect movie. I know, I knew if I didn't have it like be like number 1.
I will settle for nothing less than number 1.
But like,
she will come here and she will burn your ass.
I love Captain Marvel. I think it's almost perfect. I think the soundtrack is amazing. I think everything about it's great. It was really fun seeing Nick Fury get to do more than just be like mysterious bad guy in the corner. And I've been like obsessed with Samuel L. Jackson since I was like 14, 15. And obviously, like all the feminist things, I loved it so much. I love the way it was like a little subtle with a lot of it. And I keep thinking about, you know, when she says, I don't have anything to prove to you, like that just means so much, and it's so important, and I don't feel like that kind of thing is done often in a girl power thing.
And for me, what really got me with her was the way she kept getting back up, because like, I could absolutely relate to that, and like, I think that's a very human thing, and like, that movie had me in tears, and the fact that it was the first super feminine movie that I had in this universe after coming out has nothing to do with it, okay? Nothing at all. And this is what I meant about like the Iron Man.
I know. I knew already. I knew it was going to rain for you.
Right? I'm so no, this is important to me.
No, and it's very important to me too. Like, it meant a lot to me, and I was so glad they were doing it, and I was happy they did it well, because I was nervous about her. Not about like Brie Larson, like a lot of people were, but I was nervous about just Captain Marvel. So I get nervous
right, because
about,
she's
like,
overpowered.
Superman.
Like, I understand the problem.
Even
She's got the Superman
my favorite
problem.
character ever.
Yeah.
But the reason why it's lower down in my favorites is because for me the timing was really unfortunate, because after Infinity War, I didn't have any space left in my heart to get overly attached to anyone new, because all I could think about was what was happening in Infinity War and finishing Infinity War. Like, if Captain Marvel had come out 3 or 4 years ago, it would probably be ranking higher because I would be more attached to those characters.
That's why I love her, because I was like, yeah, and she's gonna fix it all because she can do anything because she's a goddess.
But I didn't want someone new to come in and fix it all because it's about the original six.
I understand.
You know what I mean?
I understand.
I wanted her to come help them, but it was because I wanted her to help them. It wasn't because like, oh my god, I love this character. Whereas like, I mean, obviously it's spoilers that they're higher up because you haven't heard it yet, but like you know what's coming. Like people like Doctor Strange or Black Panther was able to get more attached to because when those movies came out, I could really focus on those movies as just those movies, as opposed to how is this affecting my 6 Avengers? Because after Infinity War, that's really what it was. It was like, okay, I know these people are coming back, but I don't know what's going to happen to my 6. And I've dedicated a decade to these people.
Yeah, I kind of want to pair up the 6 with the stones, but
Right, a lot of people tried. It's like it almost works,
almost.
Not quite.
Yeah.
But so that's why it's like lower in my top 10. But like I said, these are basically all tied. It's just I would have been more attached to her had she not come in when I was so distracted by Infinity War needing Endgame.
I needed her when I got her, and I'm very happy I have her. That's how I feel about Captain Marvel. Carol Danvers. All right. So, next for me was Spider-Man: Homecoming.
Yeah.
We disagree about this movie.
I'm surprised it's as high as it is considering the way you talked about the movie when it came out. I'm also surprised it's still together considering you talked about this movie.
It grew on me, but like, I couldn't get behind the villain. You know, it was very blah. I don't know. I kind of like I really love the way that they're like the cleanup crew and all that. Like, I think that's fantastic, and I think that universe needs to make sense with something like that.
Yeah.
You know, I'm just
dealing with the fact you just insulted the real Batman. I don't know how to handle myself.
Real Batman?
Michael Keaton. He's the actual Batman. He's always my Batman. Don't shrug that up.
Still Batman, though.
Okay, I didn't even talk to you.
I know. If we ever have to talk about DC movies, I'm doomed. Like, that'll be the end of our relationship.
Oh, I know your thoughts about Superman.
I know.
But I hate Superman in those movies, so.
Yeah.
Henry will never be my Superman, ever. 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 I don't care. He will never be my Superman. You gonna say anything else about Homecoming?
I'm good.
Do you have any positives to say?
I'm happy at the bottom of my hole that I've dug for myself. Thank you very much.
You're allowed to have a disagreeing opinion.
We'll see. Continue.
Okay. My next one is the first Avengers.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm surprised it's not higher.
Yeah.
I don't know. I love it. It's fun. It was one of my favorite movie-going experiences, like in the theater. I loved it so much. And
it's a little, like, cloyingly sweet though, like everything kind of just works.
I'm okay with that. I didn't mind. I kind of needed that. And I went to go see it with a bunch of friends, so like it felt good. I went to go see it with like a few like very, very close friends, and that was really fun. We were all very into it, and we really like turned it into like a very much a bonding thing. And I don't know, I love the movie. I think it's fun. I'm a little disturbed every time I rewatch it by just how evil Loki is, because in subsequent movies he's like redeemed enough that you don't feel terrible for being in love with him.
It just feels so put on, especially in that movie, because that's exactly what the character is doing, and it works so perfectly.
I don't know. I feel like when he loses it at Natasha and everything he's threatening to have Hawkeye do, it felt like that was him just letting loose, and that part I'm like, God, no, you are a fucking monster, and I should not love you. I feel terrible. But I loved it. I love watching them all come together. I love the way they balance it. I think it's great. I think a lot of characters really found their stride in this movie. It's literally just slightly lower down because I'm super, super, super attached to some of these other movies afterwards, and for very specific reasons. But like I said, they're all almost tied at this point. Like it's a great movie. I don't have anything to complain about with Avengers. I literally have like no complaints about that movie. Other than the fact that I wanted Spider-Man to be in the Avengers like from the beginning. That's my only complaint.
I'm like, we're in New York. We're in New York.
Because I just always want Spider-Man and everything. Because I love Spider-Man so much.
For me, the next one up was Civil War. Because I really consider that an Avengers movie, honestly.
It feels like an Avengers movie.
Yeah, and like, it was actually pretty good. It dealt with a heavy-handed subject. It was like relevant for the time and everything. And like, I felt like they had a good point there and everything, and I think it was great. That's gonna be the way that a lot of these go from here out.
They're just like, that was good.
Yeah.
See, I can babble about the ones I love for so long. I'm having to cut myself off. Oh, it's dangerous. My next one, and God, I know so many people disagree with this, but is Captain America: The First Avenger. I love that movie. I remember when I was watching it, I had like no interest in seeing Captain America. I'm like, this character looks completely boring. Like, I'm not into it. My best friend's obsessed with Captain America, and I'm like, what do you do with your life? You can never make fun of me for my Superman obsession because like you love Captain
Like,
America.
this person,
what is
this
wrong with you?
Absurd caricature of like, yeah.
I'm just like, he has America.
Patriotism, like, come on.
I was like not into it at all, and she finally wore me down and talked me into watching the movie, and I watched it like by myself in my room in the dark, and I was just
just
gone.
started swearing.
I was gone. Like,
No!
I was so mad. I didn't tell her for hours what I thought of the movie. I was so mad. And I remember at the time thinking that this is the best written Marvel movie so far. I think it is such a tight script. I love the way it's written. I love the characters, and I'm a complete and total sucker for 1940s stuff. I always have been. I've always been obsessed. I tried to make a fan site about the 1940s when I was 14, and the internet was like a baby.
We were on like 20 sites on the internet that like
I was
the
like,
non-adult
I'm like
sites.
obsessed with the 1940s anyways. That whole aesthetic worked, and what really sold me on it was I really loved the fact that like Captain America hated being propaganda. He hated being used that way. I love that it was that self-aware. And
Yeah,
like,
it was him giving in to that like because he had no other choice.
Yeah. And I don't know, his and Bucky's relationship's so amazing that I loved it. I fell apart when I thought Bucky was dead.
Yeah, I
was
literally
so crushed
forgot
for
he
him.
existed, so...
Oh my god, I did not. I screamed when he came
I was
back.
like, Winter
screamed.
Soldier, who's Bucky? I had to rewatch the
I
first
can't
movie.
even look at you.
I know.
Look at you.
You're gonna get mad at me.
But I love it, and I just really think Chris Evans really sells that kind of cheesy wholesomeness so well, like, and he's just such a Hufflepuff, and I'm sorry, like I said, that is the thing that annoys me the most, probably in any fandoms, when people say Captain America is a Gryffindor, not a Hufflepuff. I will do
No,
an
they
hour-long
literally just think
video
of
on why
Gryffindors
he's
as the
Hufflepuff.
good people, and I'm like, that is not the
Or like
case.
Brady, because he wanted to go fight, but he didn't want to fight for the
No,
sake
he
of fighting.
did. No, he did not.
He
Like,
wanted to, he wanted to sign up and like go fight the Nazis
Yeah,
because he
but,
hates
like,
bullies. He didn't want to fight.
No,
you know?
exactly. Like he wasn't in it for the like glory of
That wasn't for the sake
Yeah.
of valor or anything like
No.
that. It was to go defend people and stop bullies, and his whole life is about injustice and not cursing. Like he's basically, his name is Helga. That's what I feel. Oh my god. So, and I really feel like Chris Evans plays that well, and I was like, if that wasn't played perfectly, it would be so terrible.
No, it would play
be
so
awful.
absurd.
It would be just the worst movie ever, and that's what I thought it was going to be, and I was not sold. I wasn't sold by the trailer, I wasn't sold by anything, and oh god, I love the first Avenger, and people always insult it, and I just want to cry and eat baked goods when they do.
That's actually my movie at this tier.
Oh,
This rank, yeah. So
we're equal!
Yep, we're equal.
Maybe we can almost be together, even
I
if
don't
you
know.
don't understand Bucky.
I don't know. I'm not sure about this. Captain Marvel and Captain Marvel and Iron Man lower. My two most important characters to me.
I'm sorry, how low was Tony Stark in the rest of your movies?
I know. I'm waiting for you to get to those. All right. So that was my.
I already
next.
did Iron Man 2.
Oh, okay. So you're up then.
You're done already? You're not going to talk about...
We just talked about it for 10 minutes.
You didn't say much.
Because everything you said was right. And I was like, well, this is just saving me having to hear my voice. So carry on.
Okay, my next one is Black Panther.
Okay.
I love Black Panther. I love the whole cast. I'm obsessed with his voice, as we have discussed. I'm obsessed with everyone's voice. No, I'm completely in love with T'Challa. Like, that's, I don't understand anyone that's not. I literally do not understand it.
No, he is the most charming person in the world.
I literally have, I don't know, I think Tom Hiddleston might be more charming.
Okay. I need to have a conversation with those two.
True. But, Tom Hiddleston's, disturbingly charming. We're very lucky he appears to be a good person. Because if he wasn't, I don't want to think we could convince us all to do. But, Black Panther is... I think it's so important. I think it's so relevant to real life right now. I think the acting's phenomenal. I'm obsessed with everyone in it. I think there's really strong women that aren't
They
don't feel shoehorned in as strong women. And you didn't really know what was going to happen in the movie necessarily. It felt like there was peril still. I love it. I love it so much. I think it's inspiring and uplifting and exciting.
Yeah, I'm a little concerned with the ending of that movie because can they make more, or is this the last one? Why did they have all their eggs in one basket?
We need another
like,
one.
Yeah, I don't know.
We need more Black Panther, that's all.
I mean, I agree. I'm very happy to watch the next one.
Yeah.
Alright, so for me, the next one after that was Captain Marvel.
I'm surprised it's not higher. I really thought
I
it was
know.
higher.
The problem I had with putting it higher was that, like, I recognized my own bias. And I recognized that, like, in terms of contributing to that universe, she's not really that important to Earth, which is very, like, we're very Earth-centric in this. And I'm like, she's kind of, like, not on Earth most of the time, you know? Like, and I get that that's, like, a product more of her, like, her being new, basically. Like, for all we know, she's coming back, but, like, I don't think so. Like, I think her stuff is always going to be space stuff, and I'm fine with that. I'm very happy with that, because, like, she is human, and she grew up human mostly, you know? Like, okay, that's not terribly interesting. Where she becomes interesting, where she becomes Captain Marvel, is when she no longer, like, she transcends humanity, basically. So I'm like, okay, well, thank you. But like I said, super inspiring to me. I really needed a strong female character that, again, didn't feel shoehorned and all of that sort of thing. Like, just a strong person who happens to be a woman.
Yeah, no.
And like, oh, just perfect. Perfect. Like, love it. Love it, love it, love it.
My next movie, and I could talk about this one way too long, is Spider-Man: Homecoming. I literally feel like
I had a feeling we were coming up on that one.
I feel like they made that movie for me. I feel like
it was designed for you.
No, I literally feel like they were like, what does Amanda need a movie? The only thing they could have done is make it a musical. That's the only way it could have been like
That's very true.
It's just
that's like the only thing that's missing from that
movie.
movie.
And they could have done it. They could have just had like a high school musical happening in the background or something.
Oh god, like
that's
actual high school musical.
Yeah, actual high school musical. That is like the only way it could have been better. Like the Ramones song at the ending and the artwork they had at the ending.
It's 1000% your movie.
And Tom Holland is Peter Parker. Like, I don't even believe he's an actor. He
you know, honestly, like they just found Spider-Man. But like, Tobey was our OG.
Well, Tobey will always be, I was going to say, like, Tobey will always be my Spider-Man.
He will always be Spider-Man.
But like, Tom Holland is Peter Parker.
Yeah, no, I'm like, that is Peter Parker. That is the Peter Parker that was kind of missing, honestly, from Tobey, because like, I remember being like, this isn't really...
Well, and he comes off as so young, which is perfect for it. Like, he really comes off as young, which you really need with Spider-Man. And I think Ned's perfect. I love the way they're doing Mary Jane.
Andrew Garfield.
Zendaya.
Yeah, Andrew Garfield was like, okay.
He was good. He was too pretty and too like cool to be Spider-Man, but I still loved him. He's a great actor.
Yeah, he wasn't a great nerd.
It's kind of hard to believe he was bullied. You know, Tom Holland. I feel like you could see him getting bullied, and Tobey Maguire definitely. Ned's great. Like, I love Zendaya as Mary Jane. I like intentionally stay away from all trailers and everything with this, so I didn't even know Michael Keaton was in, and I was very happy. I'm like, all my superhero worlds are combining, and I loved the story. I loved the gritty realness of it when it would hit, but I loved the rest of it. It felt like bright Technicolor, very, very comic book. It just felt comic book and fun, and the Captain America videos.
Oh god, I forgot about those.
Are literally the greatest thing ever done in the entire world. I just feel like it does such a good job of showing what the rest of the universe is like you said. Like,
yeah, no, exactly. Like, looking at it from the perspective of everybody else, you know, is like, great.
It makes total sense. Captain America would be doing, like, corny high school videos, and he'd probably be a joke. Like, anytime you're, like, a narc in school, you probably get called Captain America. It's fantastic. And I love the fact that it's like, isn't he a war criminal? It's like, whatever, who cares? It's just high school. We don't care.
That and, like, budget.
Right?
We don't have the budget to replace Captain America.
Exactly. It's like, this is done. It's already filmed. I love everything about that movie. I think it is, like, oh, it's literally perfect. I'm just obsessed with Homecoming, and I don't understand your thoughts on that movie. It's perfect. It's perfect. You just need to watch it again, and again, and again, and again. Maybe you'll like it eventually.
As long as we don't get any, like, Mary Jane, like, I'll be good. I'll be okay.
I just couldn't handle Peter Parker being as hurt as he was in that movie. I was so scared. I just want to, like, protect, like, Tom Holland as Peter Parker so badly that I can't handle anything happening to him. Which makes other movies very hard.
Yeah.
Marvel knew what they were doing, obviously. So, yeah.
So for me, the next one was The Avengers, because it was just everything coming together, and I was like, oh, this is really happening. They're going to really make something out of this, and it delivered. Like, that movie was perfect in so many ways, and I just loved it, loved it, loved it, loved it the whole time. So good. So good.
Like, Joss Whedon, perfect. That's all there is to it.
Right? Like, oh, there is, like, that is the like, oh, that was the moment that I really started to believe in the MCU.
Yeah.
'Cause up till then I was like, okay, we got like little like things here, this is going okay, like maybe this could work. And then like it all coming together, I was like, oh, yes, yes. And like it just followed that like storytelling classic thing perfectly, and I was just...
But without being boring.
No, it made it feel new, which
Yeah.
was great. Love it. I like seeing Loki go dark. Dark Loki's fun.
No, I just hate myself for being in love with him. I don't know what's wrong with me, that's all.
It just forces me to acknowledge that I'm a bad person.
Like, I should be in love with Captain America, and instead I'm like, how about this person over here? And it's terrible, and I hate myself.
That makes sense.
That's pretty much it. Like, and on that note, my next movie, and the hero I'm in love with, is Doctor Strange. I love Doctor Strange. When it came out, I like 2 minutes after the movie, I'm like, that is my favorite Marvel movie. It's amazing.
It benefits me greatly that you fall for bad people that are really snarky and like just jerks. Like, it benefits me greatly that you love jerks.
Stephen Strange is such an asshole, and I'm so in love with him. And he is peak Slytherin. He is like the ultimate Slytherin, and I stan him for that. And oh my god, the movie's great. I love the time travel. I love the way they do it. I love the way they play with it. I love the whole Buddhist vibe with it. I'm really into that. I love the way they did the special effects. I love the fact that it felt adult without trying to go super dark and edgy, but it still felt like a grown-up movie. And I will forever regret every decision I've made in my life that ends with me not having the job title of magic choreographer.
Right? Oh my god, that sounds so awesome!
Well, and I was literally noticing that during the movie. I loved the choreography of all the spells and the hands movement.
Right, no, they gave it weight, which is exactly what you need, because anything else looks silly.
It looked like a mix between martial arts and dancing, and I loved it so much.
It ties in with your peak Slytherin claim. There will be no foolish wand waving or silly incantations in this class.
It's like, well, it almost feels like wand waving, but I get what you're saying, for sure. I don't know, but I do really want to do potions, but I most want to do in Hogwarts. But again, that almost was like a movie that was like written for me. I just loved it so much, and I had been hyped for it ever since like Benedict got cast. I was like, okay, this is gonna be great, it's gonna be great, it's gonna be perfect. So I had been building myself up for years, and it's still like, it just surpassed everything.
Yeah, I was worried that it was gonna be a little too Sherlock, but it definitely didn't have that problem.
No, it was wonderful. It was so great. It's definitely its own character. I love it.
Next for me is the OG Iron Man. That movie was so important to me at the time. I was like 17, I think, when it came out. And I was like, yes, okay, yes, this is amazing. This is what like comic book movies need to be like. Tony Stark is a god. Like, that was basically my thought. And like, you know, he's such a perfect blend of like, I find him plausible, you know? And to make that work, it just, you know, and he's not nearly as quippy in that movie as he ends up, certainly by the end of, you know, Endgame.
Yeah, he's just a jerk for like half of it.
Yeah, exactly. He's just a jerk. And I'm like, okay, but like he's still compelling. Like I still want to care about him. I still want to hold him and tell him it's going to be okay and give him a cheeseburger. But honestly, like, yeah, no, I think it was the perfect way to kick off the actual MCU was to have this character. Like there's no other way this would have worked if this did not work.
Yeah, no. I love it.
So good.
My next movie is definitely a movie that was like literally written for me, is Thor Ragnarok. Like I love it. It's the one I could probably rewatch the most. That's why it's this high. I feel like I could put that movie on every day for 6 months and not get bored. Like I feel like I wouldn't. I feel like it's one time I feel less bad about being as in love with Loki. I feel like they really let Loki be like good guy who just kind of seems bad, and like they really let Chris just go nuts and play, and the comedy is so campy and so tongue-in-cheek and so ridiculous. And again, I avoided all spoilers, so Jeff Goldblum, like I literally, like you were with me, I lost my mind.
You like tore my arm apart.
I freaked out when
you were like,
showed up.
You were clawing at me.
And he's just so flamboyant and so evil, and there's nothing I love in the world more than Jeff Goldblum playing an asshole. Like I love an asshole, but Jeff Goldblum playing an asshole is everything. And to have like him in a movie where like Chris is going to be funny and Loki's going to be like an evil I can like kind of get behind. It's just everything. And Valkyrie's amazing, and I loved having a strong female character who was like a drunk and an asshole and a failure, and that was fantastic. Like they didn't
and
like
like we had good
unicorned
Hulk.
her.
We had good Hulk scenes and good Hulk plot, and like
And
it's
there was a
actually
lot of payoff
arguably
for
the
it.
best Hulk movie we've ever had.
Right, and there was a lot of payoff for earlier things that happened. There was a lot of character growth and development while still being really funny. And the ending's like devastating and yet still hopeful and really leads into everything else. And I don't know, the movie's just so much fun, even with some of the deaths that happen in it being really awful and kind of brutal and out of nowhere. But, and like, oh my god, like the villain, I can't get over too. I can't get over, and she's great in it, and I love the makeup, I love the costumes, I love the design, I just love how evil she is in it. Like half the time I like almost forget that that's her movie too, because I get so distracted by the comedy, but she's fantastic in it, and I love it.
Idris Elba was great in that movie too.
I don't feel like I have a single complaint about that movie. I really don't. I can't think of anything to criticize in that movie. I just love it.
For me, the next one up is Endgame, and we're not going to talk about that until the end.
Okay. Yeah, my next one is Endgame as well.
Okay, so we're just gonna keep moving.
We can't talk about it.
We can't talk about it until the end, because I don't want to spoil it before we're done with the list.
Yeah.
So next one for me is Infinity War.
Yeah.
Because and really you have to kind of take Endgame and Infinity War to be one unit, because they really, I feel like they don't particularly work otherwise. Like I feel like you need one to finish out the other, like the plot isn't done.
Yeah.
You know?
It's definitely one movie.
Because I remember like getting to the end of that movie and being like, we've been here for like 3 hours. Like there's no resolution coming. This is just happening. Like I remember like having that sink in, and I was like, oh no. And that's actually how I felt about Captain Marvel, because I was like, the fact that she didn't fix everything in Infinity War means she can't be around and must be dead, and something horrible is going to happen to her, like Doctor Who levels of horrible, something is going to happen. And like, I was terrified the whole time watching the movie. I was like, what's gonna happen to her? I need her! I need her!
I understand.
But no, so Infinity War is it's just fantastic. Like it's got the perfect kind of action. It's got the perfect characters. Like they did such a good job of balancing out so many strong characters and having it not feel like any of them were just cameos or just on screen or whatever, and just like get out of here. You know, like everyone was important. Everyone mattered. Everyone had their moment. Everyone had their personality and everything. It was fantastic.
Yeah.
So good.
Alright, my top movie then is Infinity War. And the reason I have Infinity War over Endgame, without spoiling Endgame, is I don't think I will ever not want to tell people in the future about how I felt watching Infinity War in theaters. Like, it was just such an experience.
Right, like that's a story we're gonna tell our kids. Like,
right, and it's something I've been waiting for since I was little. Like, ever since I was little, I wanted a movie where the good guys lost.
Yeah.
And I always wanted to see that, and I thought they did a really great job of setting it up to tease you into thinking like, oh, well here's the ending you expect, so that can be what happens. And here's a second ending you kind of expect but don't really see coming, so that's the one that's probably going to happen. And normally they have both those, and it's the second one that happens. And this time when that didn't happen, whenever Wanda failed, because Thanos is an asshole and did the time thing, which is like the most barbaric thing I think I've ever seen. Like what happened with Vision was just complete torture. That's what really got me. Like they not only tricked me for like, oh, the obvious resolution isn't it, but the second most obvious resolution was also not it. So instead you get the Snatcher, as we have recently heard it called, which is everything. And I just remember like the theater being completely silent and no one talking afterwards, no one talking on the way out of the theater. Like literally no one.
I heard talking on the way out of the theater about, I just remember people being like, oh, screw Star-Lord, this is all his fault, like we had it.
Yeah, I didn't hear that, I just like heard everyone being quiet, so.
Yeah, no, we were all kind of shell-shocked. We were like,
no.
Oh. And then, at the end of the credits, Thanos will return. Well, yeah, he's one of like 10 people left. Like,
that's why it's my top, because like I feel like
we just really didn't know what was going to happen.
Built to it so well.
Yeah.
And it was beautifully done. It was funny, it was devastating. But like, honestly too, I was so out of it the first time watching it because Loki dying that early. Apparently Loki means to means to me as much as half the universe. Because after he died, like anything funny that would happen, I'd be like, haha, that's funny.
Where's
Just
Loki?
immediately flat again. Like I would be like, that's hysterical, and then immediately flat. Anything sad that happened, like even Gamora, I'm like, that's really sad. Immediately back to thinking about Loki, and that's where I was, and nothing snapped me out of it until like half the universe was gone.
Yeah,
and I'm like, well, that's apparently it's like Loki, half the universe, and that's where I'm at.
Yeah, we need to talk about the Soul Stone because I really don't love the way that that's handled. Like, it's a physical object. Why do you have to perform this ritual? What is the secret of this? Like, I don't understand
I
it.
think it's cool. It's not fully explained.
I kind of like that, but I also kind of hate it because I'm like, why didn't they do the same kind of thing for all the other stones? Like, put all this ridiculous protection around this specific one.
Yeah.
And like, I get that they're saying like it's only this one that's weird, and I'm like, yeah,
Well,
because
it doesn't have as much power as the other ones do on its own, like that.
yeah, that's the
either.
thing. Like, what does it actually grant you? It's kind of only necessary as part of the set.
Well, that's
you know?
why I think that it has like the kind of protection it does. You know.
I guess because by the time you're going for this, you know that you're gonna do something, you know?
No, but I just feel like Infinity War was a massive experience, so it's hard for me to not.
Yeah, that was the other thing I was thinking too, because I thought that like maybe we were gonna get a Deus Ex Machina and have like Captain Marvel swoop in and everyone's gonna be like, who's Captain Marvel? And then we're gonna have Captain Marvel, and I was like, oh, please don't do that. Please don't do that. That would be terrible.
Well, especially
like,
because her movie wasn't even out yet.
well, but we knew it was coming out. Like we had
Yeah.
trailers and stuff, and I was like, oh no, are they gonna? Please don't do
Yeah.
that. You know, like I was worried about that too. But like you said, I think it's important to see your heroes lose because you really see who they are.
Yeah.
You know? Okay, so we're up to my top movie, and you know what it is, because
Yeah,
the one I haven't talked about. It's Ragnarok. I love that movie more than every other, I mean, that's the point. I love that movie more than every other movie in the MCU. It's so good. Like, they finally figured out how to do Thor well, and just, they bring in...
Thor is perfect.
Yeah, and they bring in, we just talked about him for 10 minutes, and I love him almost as much as you
Jeff
do.
Goldblum.
Jeff Goldblum. And like, oh, I love him, and I need him all the time. I just need him to just, like, be in scenes and,
Yeah.
and not even have dialogue, just like... He's so good, and I love it, and it's so good, so good. Okay, so the only thing left to do is talk about Endgame.
Yeah.
So from here on out, there will be spoilers, so thank you for sticking around this long and not putting, and staying through the non-spoiler part, but we're going to talk a little bit spoilers. Okay, so we're going to talk about Endgame now. That movie is the perfect way to close out all the plot lines that came before. It is the perfect conclusion to all of those characters, arcs, and everything, and just, it's so good.
No, I completely agree. I think we need to do like a fully Endgame video, honestly.
I agree.
'Cause I could talk about it for an hour very easily.
Like, seriously, we've been at this for an hour and 10 minutes
I
now.
know.
Like, it'll be shorter by the time I edit it, but it's gonna be long.
I love Endgame. It didn't let me down in any way whatsoever. Like, not at all. And I was very tempted to make it be my top. I mean, I basically consider Infinity War and Endgame one. But, like, as far as, like, the experience, Infinity War was the more impactful to me at first, just because it was such a shock. Like, Endgame, you kind of knew what was going to happen, but you just didn't know how they were going to get there. It was perfect. It was completely satisfying, but I didn't have that, like, oh my god, shock feeling.
I'm always a little iffy about movies that introduce time travel into a universe that did not previously have it, to our
Same.
knowledge. Like, we had the Time Stone, but that operates in a very, very different way from what they're talking about in this movie. And I'm like, I'm not really sure how I feel about that. You know, because I'm like, what does this mean for that universe? What does that mean for that multiverse? You know, because now we're talking about alternate universes and alternate realities and all that sort of stuff. And like, where does that leave some of the open ends? Like, what happens to the universe where Loki gets away?
They all go on Disney Plus. That's what happens to them.
But like, you see what I'm saying? Like, I get that universe now no longer exists because they put the time stone back and all that, and they didn't need to go to that point and all that. But like,
There's debate on that.
Well, yeah, but that's like what they're...
Yeah.
I think that's what they're most likely to do with that plot hole. But if anything gets us Loki back, I'm good. Like, that's a good thing.
No, I love Loki.
Oh,
I'm
he's
not
so good.
okay.
But like, yeah, I don't know. I'm always iffy on use of time travel because it needs to be done very carefully because you can change anything. You can rewrite the whole universe, retcon the whole thing, and that's just always such a slippery slope. But, I think it was really the only way to close out some of those characters. Like,
No,
Cap
it was
was
perfect.
always stuck in the past and could not deal.
And he deserved a happy life. Like,
Yeah.
he deserved that.
Yeah, like he could not deal with losing that time. He just
No.
couldn't, you know?
No.
I feel a little bad for Bucky, even though I don't care that he exists, because I'm like, that really kind of should be Captain America. I understand that that's not what happens in the comics and all of that, but I'm also
Well, like Bucky had been through so much and was so done with fighting.
exactly.
I feel like him
like,
fighting more would just be cruel at this point.
it would be, and I understand that, but I'm also like, but it's your buddy.
He needed to go back in time and be in a triad with him and Peggy. That's what needed to happen, okay? That's what needed to happen.
He needs to be the side dude.
I will accept what I got, you know.
Side guy.
I'll just accept it. But no, I thought it was great, and Tony ending with I am Iron Man, like the way it was delivered, the way it was built up. Like the minute he said I just lost it, sobbing.
You are the one that introduced this theory to me, so you should be the one to talk about it.
Oh, yes, I heard a theory. And the second time watching the movie is all I can think of the whole time watching it, and it was terrible. That Doctor Strange actually saw at least 7 million versions where they would have won, but only one in which Tony died. And he's such an asshole and hates Tony so much that he lied and said that was the only way, just so Tony would die. And I want to say he wouldn't do that.
No,
but I also don't know for sure.
I find that completely plausible.
I kind of do, and I kind of hate that I do, and that I still love Doctor Strange. Again, I have a problem.
Yep.
I have a definite problem.
The cure is more cowbell.
Pretty
But like,
much.
yeah, no, I find that completely believable. Totally 100%
It's just
believable.
hysterical. It's so stupid, and I think I just needed a funny version of the movie to enjoy because I couldn't handle watching the movie again.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm like, I hate to say it, but I really do think it had to be Black Widow. Because, like, her family was gonna be fine without her, you know? Like, sorry. Clint had done some bad stuff, but he had a family. Like, I'm not gonna, like, restore the world and give him not the thing that, like, you know? I just felt cruel. Didn't feel just.
Yeah, and it's Natasha never gets resolution of what she wants in her life ever, so...
I mean, and like, I wish that it didn't have to be just kill someone, like, you know, like, I wish that it could be just kill someone, not someone that you love most and all that, because, like, I want them to just kill Red Skull. That's what I really wanted. I was like, you, down there, let's go.
I feel like Natasha got screwed her entire life.
Right?
Like, she had, like, random days of happiness here and there.
And that's where I'm kind of concerned about the Black Widow movie, because I know it's a prequel, obviously, especially knowing what we know.
Yeah.
But, like, I kind of wonder, like, are they going to go dark with it? Are they going to go with, like, you know, oh, you know, like, look how bad she was. Really, she should have died. And it's like, oh,
I don't think they're going to do she should have died. I think they're going to go, this is a very tragic character.
I think they're definitely going to go for the heartstrings on that one and make us sad.
And,
about
like,
the fact
Scarlett
that she
can
died.
really, like, pull that off well.
Yeah, I don't know. Her character was so thin until the last, like, 2 movies, and I know that that's intentional based on the way that they wanted to write the character and everything, because, like, they wanted you to care about her eventually, too. And, like, she's opening up, and that's, like, her character arc and everything. But I'm just like, okay. Whole movie about this. All right. I want a Hawkeye movie. All right. And I know that that's...
I'm very surprised about Hawkeye over Black Widow.
Oh, it just,
I would
like...
not pick that.
He's awesome. He's so badass.
I find him, like, the closest to boring. And he's not boring, but he's, like, the closest to boring.
Yeah, he's very generic, I will say that.
I feel like he's just, like, stand-in hero dude.
I also really don't love that her entire, like, I forget, I think it was Ultron, where, like, her entire character is basically like, I'm sad because I can't have children, which is a horrible thing that was done to her and all of that, but it's like,
yeah, it's dangerous.
as a feminist, I'm like,
oh,
oh, we need to not, like, value people solely on their ability to procreate. Like, that is not...
very dangerous.
It's a slippery slope there, because I'm like, we need to be very careful how we handle this.
Yeah.
You know?
I think she's way more interesting than Hawkeye. Hawkeye's okay.
I think this was the most
care
interesting
about
we'll ever
Hawkeye.
see him be, that's
Yeah,
for sure.
I care about Hawkeye for sure, but I don't feel like, oh my god, I need a movie about Hawkeye. Black Widow I've wanted a movie for years. Because I feel like there's a lot of mystery with her, whereas Hawkeye just kind of feels like, it doesn't feel as mysterious.
Yeah, that's true.
He doesn't pull off mysterious quite as well, I think.
Yeah, and that's the other thing. Like, he doesn't have any superpowers. He's just really good.
Yeah.
You know? Which kind of makes me like, he doesn't really even belong in this universe. But also, so does she. Like, she has no powers either. You know, she's just really good.
No.
So, Any other thoughts on Endgame that you want to try to cram into this
Not that
already
I'd be crammed
hour-long?
into this short, no.
All right. So I think we will end it there. No time like the, hour in.
Yeah, right?
All right. Well, that is all for this video. One or both of us will be back again next week with another video that I hope you will find interesting. Until then, stay
Stay
curious.